My boyfriend slept with someone else thinking it was me. My boyfriend cheated on me whilst high on substances because he thought it was me. My partner, 24, and I, 22, joined our friends on a trip to a beach to try substances for the first time. There were only 5 of us, 2 boys and 3 girls, 2 couples, 1 extra girl. We took substances while there was still sunlight because apparently it takes ages to take effect, and we spent this time drinking beer near our tents with a campfire going on. Mind you, as we were descending into tripping balls on substances, we were also getting quite drunk. I'm very lightweight, so I didn't have much to drink. My partner, on the other hand, had plenty. When it started to kick, it was fun. It was funny. I felt like the sand was grassy and I kept hearing Billie Eilish singing to my ear when really it was the wind blowing so hard it was whistling. This is where it goes downhill. Maybe 4 to 5 hours later, I decided to go on a walk and had 2 friends join me because I couldn't go to sleep. My partner wanted to stay in our tent because he wasn't feeling well, so I said sure. Our other male friend who was coming to walk with me told his girlfriend to stay with my boyfriend so that she could look after him, in case anything went wrong. We thought all was well until we got back. When we returned, the first thing I heard was just obnoxious moaning and breathing. Me and the others panicked, so we immediately went into my boyfriend's tent and lo and behold, both naked, someone's girlfriend on top of my boyfriend. I ended up vomiting and passing out on the shore, but I heard a lot of yelling and crying. I woke up being in my tent and saw my boyfriend sleeping next to me. Honestly, I had to really think whether I hallucinated him cheating or that it really happened. Our other friend's girlfriend had apparently left during the night without letting any of us know, so there were only 4 of us. My partner's excuse was that he genuinely thought that the girl was me, the smell, the eyes, the hair, etc. When I realized it was all real, I just cried and had been crying since. I've never felt so broken, betrayed, confused, and hurt at the same time. I wanted to make excuses for him and think maybe it was just a mistake, but he fully cheated. 4 years down the drain, just like that. I've been staying at my sister's since we got back, but he hasn't stopped texting/calling me to apologize and say that he's disgusted with himself and that he genuinely thought it was me. I haven't spoken to him since, but I'm so tempted to. I miss him, but I'm just so hurt. I'm so confused. Should I break up with him for it? The girl had a deeper voice than I did and smelt entirely different from me. We have different perfumes, and she was blonde. I dyed my hair straight ginger. My traitor lesbian ex went to get the milk and just came back 3 years later. My ex-wife came out as lesbian and left me and my daughters 3 years ago. And now she's back. 3 years ago my wife came out as lesbian. We've been together for many years. In fact, our oldest daughter was 14 at the time and my youngest was 10. Our life was good. Both me and my wife worked, so we had stable finances and I thought we were happy. That was until one evening my wife sat us down and explained that she was in love with a female colleague from her workplace and that she wanted to be with her. She said she was sorry, but she had to find out who she was and that would only be possible if she'd left her old life behind her, blah blah blah. The typical breakup nonsense. On that day she left us and cut contact. For me and my daughters, the world fell apart. I knew that I now had to take care of my daughters all by myself. I was in a state of depression for a long time, but I kept fighting for my daughters. Every attempt to contact my ex-wife failed. Luckily I found a much better paying job that made it possible for me to give them the world. My daughters had good grades in school and I knew that our life would soon be better again. But once in a while when I took my youngest daughter to bed, she asked if I would leave them like Mom. I hugged her and gave her a kiss on the forehead and promised her that I would never leave them and that I loved them more than anything in the world. I was so angry at my ex-wife because she was the one that gave her those feelings. I wonder if she ever realized what she had done to our daughters. Fast forward to a few weeks ago. My daughters and I sat in the living room and I told them that because Christmas month was already next month, they should write down what they wanted for Christmas. My oldest daughter is now 17 and my youngest is now 13. While they were busy writing, the doorbell rang and I wondered who it was. When I opened the door, I froze in shock. It was my ex-wife with a big smile on her face. She said she was happy to see me and she tried to hug me, but I refused to hug her. My oldest daughter then came up behind me and asked me who it was, and when she saw her mother, her facial expression immediately changed. I've never seen her so angry. My ex-wife tried to apologize and she wanted to hug her, but my daughter pushed her away and shouted at her to leave and that she never ever wants to see her again. Then my youngest daughter also joined us. She just got angry too, turned around and went to her bedroom. Then my oldest one followed her to comfort her. From the look on her face, I figured she was ashamed, as she should be. I asked what she wanted. She said that the last 3 years weren't good years for her. She constantly thought of her daughters and wanted to see them again, but for some reason, she never came by because she was expecting this exact response from them. But she guessed that she deserved this. She asked if I could talk to them. I told her that I could tell them she was sorry and let them decide, but I would not push them into doing anything they didn't want. She was okay with that and left. She also left me her new number to contact her. I then got into my daughter's room. She cried in the arms of her older sister. I told them what their mother had told me. I told them that if they'd want to meet her they could do that. It would be okay for me. My oldest daughter said that she could not forgive her for doing what she did and that I was everything they needed. It felt good to hear this. Really good. I always thought that being a single parent would mean that I might never be enough for my children. Hearing this made me so happy. My youngest daughter then said that she always thought she missed her mother, but now that she had seen her again, she never wants to see her again. I texted my ex-wife about that. She read it, but she didn't respond. But she didn't give up that easily. She showed up to our house once more while my daughters played ping pong outside. I was in the living room watching TV when I suddenly heard loud shouting outside of the house. I immediately got there and I saw my oldest daughter arguing with my ex-wife. My oldest daughter shouted at her that she had no idea what she did to me. She told her about how depressed I was and everything I went through. This was kind of surprising because I wanted my daughters to feel secure with me, so I've never told them of my depression and the suffering I went through. Then she continued how she felt over the years knowing that her mother left her and that she'll never forgive her. My 13-year-old was crying while that happened, so I hugged and comforted her, but I also didn't want to interfere because if my oldest daughter wanted to tell her mother anything, I'm not going to stop her just to protect my ex-wife's feelings. Overall, she never cared about our feelings either. After she was done, she came hugging me as well, and I told my ex-wife she should leave us alone once and for all. If she ever shows up here again, we get a restraining order. She left with tears in her eyes. Well, that was 3 days ago and she hasn't showed up again so far. I just hope she leaves us alone. My daughters made it very clear they don't want to have anything to do with her. I wanted to give them the opportunity to meet their mother again, because if there is any chance that my children have a mother again, I don't want to stay in their way. But I'm glad they didn't give her the chance. I don't know if it makes me a bad person to think this, but I also don't think that my ex-wife deserves to be with her daughters again, so I hope the last encounter delivered the message. I trade her lesbian ex went to get the milk and just came back 3 years later. Her dumb lesbian face came around again. But luckily, not at home. I think about what's the best way to describe what happened today. Let's just say it could also be a part of one of those poorly written stereotypical drama series. My younger daughter came home today with a mad look on her face, and when I asked what was wrong, she started to explain. It all started when my younger daughter got out of school today. Usually, she just walks home, but this time my ex-wife waited for her at the exit. She tried to ghost her, but she was stubborn and refused to let her go just like that. She offered her a ride home. My daughter refused, but she insisted. She prepared herself for running away, but before she could, my ex-wife made her an offer. She would give her a ride home and would try to explain everything to her, and if she still didn't want to see her again, she'll never show up again. My daughter figured that this could be the best opportunity to get rid of her, so she accepted. Now here comes the interesting part. She wouldn't drive her home exactly. She just drove around the town for a while telling her story. According to my daughter, she broke up with her girlfriend after 1 year of her relationship with the coworker because they had too many different interests. She said that while she tried to live her life, she constantly had her daughters in her mind. She said she went no contact because she deleted the numbers, and she hoped that this would help her start a new life with her girlfriend. She spent the last 2 years in a depression because she figured she couldn't live without her babies around, that she deeply regrets leaving them, and that her life was a total mess. She could understand if my daughters hated her, but she would try to make everything right if they just gave her the chance. And then my daughter basically How I Met You mothered her and asked her what would have happened if her relationship and her life were successful, and if she and her older sister were just the consolation prize. Quick intervention for me at this point. I was so proud of my daughter at that moment. She is 13 and yet she is so mature and intelligent. I love her. My daughter told me that this question made her really mad, and apparently she accused me of poisoning them against her. Funny, because I never talked badly about her with my daughters. Of course, I was angry for a long time, so I said a few bad things about her to my coworkers, but never to my daughters. She is still the mother of my children overall. My daughter said that when she got out of the car, she affirmed her will to never see her again, and my ex-wife just nodded and then she drove away. My daughter asked me if we could do anything so she could stay away because she doesn't expect her to keep her promise. I called for my older daughter, and my younger daughter explained to her what happened as well. Then I asked them if I should get the restraining order, and I explained to them what that would mean and what would happen then, and they said yes. So yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. I creep dad fantasizes about my girlfriend in bed with me. He brags about how good I'd probably be in bed. My 19 girlfriend, 19, have known each other since we were toddlers. Her dad, 55, came to this country in the 90s to work and made many good friends, which my dad, 55, was one of them. In the latter half of the decade, he returned to China to marry my girlfriend's mom and brought her back to my country. We grew up together, and it was a running joke between our dads that we would get married one day. Once we started going to middle school and high school together, we went to separate elementary schools. We got a lot closer. We started dating when we were 14. Her dad became very cold with me, which was expected considering I was dating his daughter, but my girlfriend said he would warm up to me in about 2 to 3 years. He did, until recently. After we graduated high school, my girlfriend moved in with my family since we're closer to the university. That's when her dad started to become cold to me again. I thought maybe it was because I took her daughter away, but my girlfriend's mom told me that my dad has been saying really intimate stuff about me to her dad. I confronted my dad about this and he confirmed it. He said stuff like how I'm inside her or how we don't like wearing clothes when we're in the bedroom. He said that he told her father that I'm probably the best person in bed than anyone my girlfriend can possibly have. That we're probably crazy hot during intimacy. I told him to knock it off, but he told me to chill out and that they're just jokes. When I told him to tone it down, I meant no intimacy talk, not less intimacy talk, especially with her dad. Like they used to joke about how we'd get married one day and we'd be one big happy family. Or when we did start dating, he'd be like, haha, my son kisses your daughter all the time. Tone down to that. I told him that if my girlfriend is the one I'll marry in the future, I want her dad too. Like me, and that no dad wants to hear about their daughter's intimacy life. He said I'm overreacting and that I'm being a jerk. I chose to save one sister and let the annoying one die. Am I the jerk for saving one sister's life and not the other? I, 22, have little identical twin half-sisters, 16, who both have serious kidney issues. They have both sadly reached a point where without a kidney transplant, their quality of life will continue to decline and they might not see the other side of 20. Obviously, myself and my mom are devastated with this news. It wasn't expected that they would be in this position so young. For some background, one of my sisters, Sarah, is very much the tomboy like me. We are really close and enjoy a lot of the same things. We are like two peas in a pod. That's not to say I don't love my other sister Jade, but we simply aren't as close. She's a little more girly, doesn't have many shared interests as me and Sarah do, and so we just don't hang out as often. I also don't see Jade as much in general. Sarah doesn't like her dad's wife, and so she spends less time with them, while Jade adores her so has always spent more time at her dad's place. Both my mom, their dad and both of the girls were totally happy with this setup. Jade also begged to go to a particular boarding school, so I don't see her nearly as much as Sarah, nor have I for a very long time. Maybe one weekend a month for the last couple years and some more over summer/holidays. I still love her dearly, but I hope it's understandable now that I'm just much closer with Sarah. We were equally close until Jade started doing her own thing and making choices for herself, and I don't in any way begrudge that. I wouldn't say B and Jade don't get along, but there have definitely been some big spats over the years. We all got tested to see if it would be possible to do lib donations and I'm the only match. Unfortunately, I obviously only have 2 kidneys. I can only save one of my sisters. There's every chance they might get a kidney from somewhere else, but right now they aren't a priority and aren't high on the transplant list. I basically told my mom, who told their dad, that I want to donate my kidney to Sarah. I thought about it so much. I know this means I am undeniably saying I love Sarah more than Jade, and I guess I do. Unsurprisingly, all hell broke loose about how could I do this to Jade? How could I be so cruel? Why would I do this? How can I just play with their lives? I've been getting calls and texts from everyone who knows about this. As far as I know, neither Sarah or Jade have been told. I get it. I'm playing God here. But it's my kidney. Yeah, I feel like scum for choosing one sister over the other, but one is my best friend and the other is, well, not. I feel like a monster for saying it, and I know on a fundamental level it's wrong. Part of me wanted to flip a coin or something, but I couldn't. My whole family seemed to be demonizing me for making this choice.